The director's cut of Battle Royale is classified R for high-impact violence.
Spoilers?
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
So what you been up to?
I went on a walk.
Where'd you go?
I started at Eastlands and then I was here again.
Right.
Yeah.
So you actually walked backwards?
No. No.
You walked from Eastlands to here?
Yes.
Right.
That is what happened.
You caught a bus to Eastlands.
Mm-hmm.
Spent large amounts of money.
Well, no.
No.
In Blaseball, the flooding has gotten worse. There is quite a bit of flooding now, and the coin, who is supposed to be the boss, has gone on vacation and left a very confused squid in charge.
Good. You don't listen to the podcast once it comes out, do you?
Not often, no.
So you're completely unaware of the fact that I actually edit out any reference to Blaseball whatsoever.
You don't, though, do you?
Who is to say? It is not me.
It is you. It is specifically you.
Right, so Squid's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Everyone's built their stadiums, they're adding renovations with various effects.
Good.
And everyone has a credit rating now, so that's
right.
Fun.
So have all of the stadiums got contracted hot dog vendors?
No.
Should it be hot dog vendors?
No. Hot dogs are a thing. They're one of the concessions that are sold in a shop somewhere.
Right.
Not necessarily at the stadiums themselves, just somewhere on the immaterial plane. That's what the squid is supposed to be in charge of.
Hot dogs.
And other concessions.
Why are they called concessions, Thomas?
That's a great question.
I have often wondered that.
Yeah.
Where they say, go to the concession stand. Now, in my mind, concessions are a reduction in costs for something. So if I get a ticket to a movie at a concession price, it's lower than the normal price. Or am I completely confused? It has always baffled me why.
I'm looking through
such things are called
now.
concessions.
Okay, so some events or venues contract out the right to sell food to third parties. Those contracts are often referred to as a concession, hence the name for a stand where food is sold.
Right.
Usually prices for goods at concession stands are greater than elsewhere for the convenience of being close to an attraction, with outside food and drink being prohibited. And they often contribute significant revenue to the venue operator, especially in the case of movie theatres.
Right. So the concession is, in fact, the contract.
Yes.
Right. Yes, we will let you work here and sell your stuff, but you'll pay us stuff.
It's a grant of rights, land or property by a government, local authority, corporation, individual or other legal entity.
All right.
Which covers everything. That
But
list just covered everything.
but my experience of concession stands at cinemas are them selling their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it called concession stand there?
Dunno, probably the Americans' fault.
Yeah, okay. No, that sums it up perfectly. It's the Americans' fault. Good. We apologise to our American dear listener for any insult that they may cause, even if it is completely valid. So, we've waffled on long enough, and unfortunately it's also developed a craving for a boysenberry choc top ice cream at a ridiculous price. Could really down one of those. And it would probably be very handy considering what we're about to do. We're about to watch a movie.
Yes, that is part of the premise of this podcast.
Yeah. It is interesting. Last week, we watched a Japanese film.
We did, yes.
Rated in Australia as G.
Mm-hmm.
We're staying in the country, but we're not staying in the same rating.
We're moving almost all the way to the other end.
Indeed. As far as most states in Australia, it's very much the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are watching our first ever R-rated movie.
We are, yes.
In this podcast. And it's not R in the sense of the American usage of R.
Although I'm sure there'll be plenty of the American usage of R.
Yes. We are, yes, R 18 plus. And this was Thomas's choice.
It was.
We did establish in some way, shape or form why he chose this film.
I wanted to watch it.
He wanted to watch it. I don't think this particular classification is going to get high rotation on this podcast, but Thomas has put a disclaimer at the beginning so that if there are any delicate ears, they should possibly turn off now. Or then.
Yes, probably then.
Yes.
If they turned out, it was probably when I said it.
Yes, and they would have saved themselves all of this garbage that has just occurred up to this point as well. So, what is it that we're watching, Thomas?
We are watching, and I've put it all the way over there, haven't I?
You have.
I have. That was a mistake.
We are watching the 2000 film Battle Royale, directed by...
I'm pretty sure it's 1998, actually. No, 2000. 2000? I don't know. What am I?
I don't know.
Who am I?
Okay.
24631.
Thomas is 24631. We all know his password to his bank account now. I'll edit that out.
No. No, you don't, because the bank account requires at least 8 characters, and that's 5. So, yeah.
Yes, so Battle Royale. Thomas, would you please give us a plot synopsis for our dear listener who has no idea how pivotal this film has been to films after it?
Well, giving you the plot synopsis probably won't give you much of the history behind
it won't.
The genre, but
stay tuned for that.
I'll read it anyway.
Okay.
It lasts 3 days. Each player starts with food, water, and a random weapon. If more than one player survives, everyone dies. There is no escape. In the near future, Japan is in a state of collapse. With high unemployment and a generation of youth out of control, the government enacts the Battle Royale program. Each year, a randomly chosen school class is pitted against itself on an abandoned island in a cruel game of survival. With a former teacher overseeing the game, this is a fight to the death, with only one winner.
Right. I got distracted while you were reading that, thinking about my various high school classes, year groups, and thinking how I would have survived in this concept. I was a pretty mean dodgeball player. I won dodgeball on a number of occasions, mainly because I was very good at hiding behind other people. Yes, so this concept is intriguing to say the least, but it does have a feel of we've seen it all before. But there is a reason for that, and we'll talk about that after watching Battle Royale. Thomas is going to place the disc. Okay, Thomas has already placed the disc into the player. It's on pause. It's waiting to go. It's humming eagerly to itself. We're going to watch it, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
Yeah, mongrel. Was that a bit racist?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. I'll edit that bit out.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure we're going to hear lots of it, though. I get to ask it this week. So what did you think?
It was an interesting film. I don't know if I enjoyed it or particularly liked it, but it is interesting watching it and seeing the things that what came after borrow from it.
Yes, and we certainly alluded to that. There's no question as to certainly the Hunger Games is the one that immediately springs to mind, but there certainly are others that have had the concept since of Battle Royale. There is only one survivor, and I would really love to understand and recognise the subtle nuances of Japanese to be able to determine how straight drama that was versus black comedic elements. Because I do get the vibe that there was a very definite black comedy undertone to certain segments. Am I imagining that? Or did you get that vibe too?
I don't think you're imagining that. This view of the film is helped by Katano being played by Takeshi Katano, a famous Japanese comedian responsible for Takeshi's Castle, among other things.
Right, okay. Sorry, was that...
The teacher.
Yeah, okay. I struggle at the best of times with keeping names to faces, but when you've got the extra layer of having to read subtitles and having 40 characters plus, I really could not put names to faces. That being said, I could still keep track of characters. Just didn't have names for them. But I suspected that you're talking about the teacher. I do get a feeling I have seen him in something else, but I could be making that up. There are a couple of films that are sort of more overt in the style of, I guess the word satire, maybe? I don't know. But RoboCop and Starship Troopers, both, unless... my understanding is that the Americans struggle with the fact that there is that satirical element to them and can't quite grasp what's going on. That's making a broad generalisation, and I do apologise to all our American listeners, but from what I've read, there is an element that large swathes do not get as far as those films are deeply taking the mickey out of themselves. And again, I'm using a phrase that you may not even understand, but I do get that feeling that in Battle Royale there is that undertone deeply threaded throughout it, enough to chip off the grotesqueness that this could have been. Because ultimately, I don't think it is a grotesque film.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of blood.
There is,
and I don't know that it's gratuitous.
No, it really comes close in places. But I've certainly seen other films that are far more gratuitous in the blood spurting and the blood splattering and the brutality. This is a brutal film, but again, it gets really close to the line, and I can imagine it being too much for some people. And I can understand people walking out and not watching it to its completion, which my understanding is it has a history of that as well. But yeah, I really found it quite masterful in touching on the line quite often, but not going over it.
And it does do it quite often, because even with that cast of 40, we do see the demise of every single one. Yeah,
and I honestly, from the start, thought, oh, this is going to be a slog. But there really were only a few times where I glanced at the clock to see how much more of this there was to go. I make a mental note of if I actually do that, and there were a couple of times where I did it, but we saw the demise of everyone.
Yeah. And I don't know that there's any repeated deaths in there, really.
No. As long as you discount the group deaths, there are a couple of group deaths that, yes.
Every demise is reasonably unique as long as it's not happening in the same time in the same place.
Yep. Which reminds me of the group that had this grand scheme that looked like it was going to... I have seen it before, but as I said, many, many years ago, and do not have a recollection of that group planning to take matters into their own hands, and my mind was fully processing the fact that they would achieve their goals. I am impressed. My recollections of it were certainly not thoughts of, wow, that was an impressive film. It was something new. It was something really out there, with elements of Lord of the Flies mixed with Agatha Christie's, the slow murdering off of everyone. In the Agatha Christie films, it's a whodunit, but there's a very definite killing off until possibly there's only going to be a few left. So there was elements of that coming across as well. It was smart, I thought, a lot smarter than I recalled. So yeah,
it is interesting seeing those elements that went on to be used elsewhere. Like you have those announcements at a regular pace, and definitely in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, yep. And it wasn't done better.
No.
I don't think. I have a great deal of... I haven't read the books of the Hunger Games. I found it very hard to read. I physically find things hard to read, so that doesn't help. But I was incredibly impressed with the film series. I thought that it was going to get weaker, but I thought it actually got stronger as it went along. So I was impressed with that. But as far as the concept was concerned, I don't think it bettered Battle Royale. Even though the stakes were the same, I think they felt stronger in this.
Those stronger stakes are somewhat helped, I feel, by the fact that this is a class of people who all know each other.
Yeah, yep.
In the Hunger Games, you have 2 people from each district, and the districts are very far apart from each other, and so there's not so much of that existing.
Yeah, yep. And so you also have the cliques within that class, and as to whether they survive, how far they survive.
And what ends up taking them down.
Yeah, yep. I guess to take it to, well, it's probably not the extreme, but the Survivor series is very much a who you put your trust in, and so I'm thoroughly impressed, and glad is possibly not the right word, but as you can tell, I'm not being able to string words together today. But I'm glad that we watched that. I did have trepidation as far as putting myself through that, but
it's an important film that I'm happy to have watched.
Yeah. Would you watch it again?
I don't know. I did say that I didn't particularly enjoy or like it, but I think I could watch it again.
Yep. It'll be a while, I think, before I did. Just long enough for me to forget what happens, which isn't terribly long. But I could watch that again. If you decide it's not going on your shelf, then I'll take it off your hands and stick it on mine.
Yeah.
It'll be the first R-rated film on the shelf.
Acting-wise.
Yes.
Acting-wise. So we mentioned Katano, Takeshi Katano. Tatsuya Fujiwara as Shuya, our ostensible protagonist, who, spoiler alert, survives the film because protagonists tend to survive such films.
Because he was pure. I think that's...
he is also in another film that I've watched. It was on SBS On Demand some time ago. Along the same lines, The Insight Mill, 7-Day Death Game, which takes place underground with a very vague rule set. You've probably not watched it, but
no.
I quite enjoyed that film, and I seem to quite enjoy this actor's work.
Okay.
So there we go.
He did the acting all the way through it was good. It was solid, and
I'd say maybe a little shaky with some of the characters that we don't get to see much before they're offed.
Yep. Yes. As far as the core group was concerned, you definitely got the vibe that there would have been a sense of camaraderie amongst those who had a lot more acting to do together. So, yeah. They were not 15, though. I'm sorry, but I went through a brief moment of thinking my three youngest are turning 15 this year, and yes, that weren't them.
Yeah. At the time, Fujiwara, who played Shuya, was 18.
Okay.
Well, probably a bit younger than that because production, but yes. Mm-hmm.
There were some great locations too.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the island. It was
all the locations felt like they belonged on an island.
Yes. Yep. I guess it's unfair to compare it to the Hunger Games as far as location was concerned, because all of that was simulated. But there were certainly times in the Hunger Games where I felt that locations were very staged.
Well, given that the Hunger Games takes place in a specific location that's been built up in such a way that it encourages.
Yes. More the case of there are certain spots on the Hunger Games where I feel like if you walked, 4 or 5 meters that way, you'd find scaffolding and
a couple of lighting rigs.
Yes. The music was good too.
Yes.
In this, but again, it contributed to that, keeping everything just away from the edge as well. Do you have anything else you wish to say about that?
I think I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. It is brutal, but if you do have a stomach for that and can get your hands on it, I do recommend it. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shall we move on then?
Sure.
The following segment has no title. We apologise for the inconvenience.
Thomas, would you please read the suggestions that have been contributed to which Studio Ghibli films we have not watched?
So I have a comment here from Helen, which says that you should cross the street in the middle of the block. And a comment from me, clarifying a remark. Yeah,
I'm looking for those Studio Ghibli suggestions.
And I see a link from you recommending a film.
Yep.
I don't think we've got anything.
I think our dear listeners are like a game of Battle Royale. Yes.
We do seem to be getting roughly the same number of listeners every week if we look at the analytics.
But they're all being downloaded into a single set of computers in Bangladesh. No one's listening to it. It's just the bots are just downloading it. That being said, there was indeed a comment from Helen which strongly suggests that she did make it all the way through to that entire episode. Yes.
So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. We may as well move on.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing left to cover.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
It's my turn.
It is.
Okay. I'm going to call on the My Movies database gods to throw a movie at us. I'm going to give the phone a shake. Right. Okay. From the sublime to the ridiculous.
Okay.
Or from the ridiculous to the sublime. I don't know. It's actually one that I want to revisit and you've marked as interested. So I'm curious to know whether you've actually watched it or not. We shall soon find out. I don't think you're going to get very far through the description before you can determine what film we are going to be watching next week. So here is the description on the back of the case. During the winter of 1952, British authorities entered the home of mathematician, cryptanalyst, and war hero Alan Turing.
Okay.
Played by Benedict Cumberbatch, to investigate a reported burglary. They instead ended up arresting Turing himself on charges of gross indecency, an accusation that would lead to his devastating conviction for the criminal offence of homosexuality. Little did the officials know they were actually incriminating the pioneer of modern-day computing, famously leading a motley group of scholars, linguists, chess champions, and intelligence officers. He was credited with cracking the so-called unbreakable codes of Germany's World War II Enigma machine. An intense and haunting portrayal of a brilliant, complicated man, The Imitation Game follows a genius who, under nail-biting pressure, helped to shorten the war and, in turn, save millions of lives.
That is The Imitation Game.
It is indeed, from 2014. Are you up for that?
Sure.
Good. Like you suggested it then. So we are watching The Imitation Game next week. We hope that you can join us. If you can get your hands on a copy if you haven't seen it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it will possibly mean more if you watch it before the episode. But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
The director's cut of Battle Royale is classified R for high impact.
Hello, dear listener, and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin,